This is Psychic Medium Deb. You can go to refinedivinepsychic.com.
This is your Magus Books Magical Moment with Liz. Do you remember the gift of frankincense? Frankincense is a resin from a tree that grows in the Middle East and Northern Africa. It has been used to raise our voices to the gods for millennia. Use frankincense to raise your experience, your energies to a higher level with frankincense stick incense or essential oil. Easy to use, delightful to smell. Check out frankincense today. Find Magus Books and Herbs at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis and at magusbooks.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with metamorphosisconnections.com. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us on this Tuesday evening. As I've been saying the last couple nights, once again, I just want to say that our thoughts and prayers go out to all those in Florida as something pretty horrific seems to be coming your way. So we're just hoping, and at this time tomorrow when we do the show, we know that Milton will have made landfall. So I'm really hoping that everyone is safe. If you've been able to evacuate, I really hope that you have done so. So with that, maybe some of you would wish that you could evacuate to the moon tonight. And we are talking about that, in fact. And it's something that my guest tonight and I were talking prior to the show, and that being very much that I have not, on GhostBox Radio, I have not really talked in great depth about the moon and about what it means and like all the different ideas that people have around it and its connection to the earth and whatnot. And this is a great opportunity. And I really don't think that this is something that we're going to be able to get through in one night, that I'm hoping that if my guest has not been bored to tears by my questions tonight, that she will agree to come back on. My guest tonight is Constance Victoria Briggs. She's a metaphysical, spiritual, cosmic researcher and writer. She is the author of the Encyclopedia of Angels, Encyclopedia of God, the Encyclopedia of Unseen World, and the Encyclopedia of Moon Mysteries. She had been invited as a guest speaker on several radio shows discussing such topics as angels, extraterrestrials, ancient aliens, life after death communication, out-of-body experiences, moon mysteries, and more. shows that Constance has been featured on included Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, Midnight Society, The Leak Project, Kingdom of Nye, Earth Ancients, Paranormal Soup, The Paranormal and the Sacred, and others. And Constance has said that up until now, she always thought that Coast to Coast was the best show she wanted to be on, but she's been wanting to get on GhostBox Radio for years. So I think I said that correctly, Constance, didn't I? I think that's what you said. Maybe. Probably
sure.
not.
Yes, that's what I said. Of course. Absolutely.
We're already ruining your legitimacy just with that statement alone. Constance, welcome to GhostBox Radio. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. And we're going to, I mean, we clearly we could talk about anything because you have had so much experience so many things, but tonight we're going to be talking about your book, and that is called Moon Galactic History, a look at the moon's extraterrestrial past and its connection to Earth. And this is one of those episodes that I've always had a lot of like thoughts around the moon and its connection to the Earth, but also in terms to my favorite topic of late being aliens. Yeah. But how do you get to where you are right now, where you're writing all these books about these very deep subjects? And I mean, obviously this is something that's been with you your entire life, right?
My entire life. I started out, with a journey into spirituality and trying to answer those hard questions in life, where we come from, why are we here, those sort of things. And so I wrote those books that you listed, Angels and The Unseen World. But I always had this interest in outer space, whether or not that was connected to our spirituality, was there something more out there? I don't know. I just felt this connection to the stars. Early on, I was attracted to shows like Star Trek. And so I wanted answers. I wanted to know if there were beings out there that were, visiting Earth, and if they actually may have had something to do with our existence. Now, obviously, I may have, in my youth heard that somewhere, but it was, kind of stuck in my head that there may be something more out there than what we thought might be, a God image. Maybe there was even more. So anyway, I started studying about UFOs. And I realized early on that the UFOs that we're seeing, whoever is flying them, may not be the it and all, but out there may be more. So I wanted to find the good entities. With all of that happening, stories about the moon started coming across my desk. It was the last thing that I expected when I was looking for benevolent extraterrestrials and who was driving the UFOs. The moon was the last place I was looking. All right. To make a long story short, that's how I got there with all this stuff I was researching, writing. But these stories were coming by and I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me there might be structures on the moon? What the heck? What do you mean someone thought they saw UFOs flying around the moon? What the heck? So I delved a little bit deeper in it, and I found a book called Our Mysterious Spaceship Moon, written by a ufologist by the name of Don Wilson. That's really when I did a deep dive, because I could not believe what Don Wilson was saying. By the way, I've never found this gentleman. I've been looking for him. The book is just awesome and amazing. And he wrote a follow-up, Our Mysterious Spaceship Moon, and I'm forgetting the second title, Secrets of Our Spaceship Moon. So all of that is how I got where I am today. I have a fascination now with the moon and what's going on up there and whether or not it's inhabited.
I mean, and that's the question, right? I mean, that's the thing that I want, and I know a lot of people are always interested about. And I feel like we get these little tidbits of like teasers, if you will, of like we get a picture of something and there's like what could possibly be some sort of structure that's just a little bit out of frame, that is like we can't tell for sure if that's just some rock formation or if that's something built by somebody. So I mean, all this stuff is extraordinarily like if I feel like after being on, having apparently supposedly gone to the moon in 1969, we don't really know anything more about it now than we did back then as far as like on an official level.
Officially, they do not know where the moon came from. I can tell you that. They do not know the origin of the moon. Everything we've been taught since we were a kid, I grew up thinking that the moon was captured in Earth's gravity, and that's how it came to be. The scientists said, nope, that's not it. I thought later that what we call the Big Whack theory, a small planet, no, not a small planet, Earth hitting, let's see, the moon and Earth colliding, and then Earth flying out into space. When it hit the, parts of the Earth flew into space, and eventually that formed the moon. That was the last idea. NASA's website said, no, we think that's how it happened, but they're not definitive about it. They didn't say no. They said, well, that's our latest theory, but it's really funny to read that because they won't commit to anything. They didn't commit to that latest theory. They don't know how it got there. I forgot the question.
Here's I'm sure you've heard this theory before. Obviously, Nancy's like, it's made of cheese. If it was made of cheese, Nancy, I would be up there right now. I no doubt about it. Just being perfectly honest.
But I did want to say we would all be up there on it, right?
Yeah, right. I'd be
no,
with
funny.
a bag of chips and make some nachos. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, we can bring some seriousness to the conversation, Constance. Don't worry. We get there eventually.
No, I just wanted to, you brought up the structures, and while I have it on my mind, you said that there are not clear pictures. Actually, there are some clear pictures. They're not all fuzzy. There is a picture out of the Apollo 15 moon mission where this structure actually looks like a ship. It's a cigar-shaped ship. It has writings on it. It's sitting there, and NASA officials, apparently the story goes, because you can see the picture, you can Google this, Apollo 15 spaceship or ancient craft or something, and it does pop up. So that was a pretty clear one. And, and it's huge, this thing. So some things did get through. They're not all fuzzy. And there were images that came out of some of the lunar orbiters that do show what look like towers. They're not fuzzy. They look like towers, and they are miles long. Of course, you do have some that are lighted, and they look like, spheres moving around or something. But some of the stuff is really clear. So if you haven't seen them, you can just Google images of structures on the moon. Also, some of the pyramids. There's one very clear image of a pyramid up there. There are images of what look like houses, not houses like we would. Maybe I could say square buildings, sidewalks. There's tubes, pictures of tubes, pictures of what look like tracks, like almost train tracks up there. There are images you can Google and see. A lot of the stuff, yes, was covered up, but some things have slipped through.
Do you think, and you probably either you know or you don't know, I don't know anything, so we'll just start with that. Do you think that, that the government obviously knows more than what they're perhaps saying, but do you think that that's just because that they're just trying to kind of get it out of the way and not really put much attention to it, or do you think they're actively doing anything with it? Maybe not about it, but with it, in the sense of like trying to do more research on it or anything else?
I don't know if they're doing research, but I do believe there are people in the government that knows what's going on. I don't say it's everybody, because if you listen to the congressional hearings, it looks like the left hand doesn't always know what the right hand is doing, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So I think there are some very high officials that have no clue. And I think that others do know, and they're keeping it trying to keep it close for whatever reason. But I think with the tic-tac situation, the moon is the least of their concerns right now.
Yeah.
So I think, coming on and talking about it, they're probably like, we've got to figure out what's in the water.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've been saying for a while now that I think there's a huge difference between politics and government. And that the politics side, like when we had those congressional hearings, it's the politics side that's asking the government what's going on. But the government is so big and so vast that, to your point, not everyone knows what's happening. But the people who know this is something that they're going to keep really to themselves, that they're going to protect that information.
They're keeping it to themselves, but evidently they're not going into any deep dive and trying to keep it to themselves. This stuff is all over the internet.
Yeah.
All right. And people have been talking about it for years. What I think has happened is someone put out there that it's all laughable and silly, and people believe it and they move on. If you're not doing the research, if you haven't read some of the books or seen some of the pictures, you really don't know. You just hear, that's the government, the government or whomever said there's nothing going on, ha, ha, ha. But when you get down to the nitty gritty and you read some of the things that the astronauts said, and even if you believe they didn't go to the moon, we don't need the Apollo missions to let us know that there's something strange going on up there, and that there has been for centuries, probably before, since the beginning of our existence. But we have documentation going back to the 1600s of things moving around on the moon. And when I say things, I mean, so the astronomers, I call them the astronomers of old, back when the telescope was first invented, and they started watching the moon very closely because it was the closest neighbor to see, and they were seeing lights up there. They said, the recorders would say, we saw these stars moving around the surface of the moon, and they were blue and they were red, and we saw them for 2 hours or a half hour, and they were listing them in different geometric shapes, different colors, above the moon, over the surface of the moon, in the craters on the moon. And what they were seeing, obviously, to me, were UFOs or ships, or maybe the inhabitants going about their daily life. So it was scientific fact at that time that the moon was inhabited because they were seeing all this stuff up there. So we don't need the Apollo missions to tell us something strange been going on up there for many, many, many years. Even during lunar eclipse, there have been lights seen moving around during a lunar eclipse, which boggles the mind. Someone's flying around up there.
Absolutely. Now, Constance, are you good with taking any questions from our comments, folks? Okay, I meant to ask that beforehand. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's go ahead and take our first break. I have a lot of questions about this. I think a lot of you will as well. So put them into the comments. I'm loving this. This is exactly what I was hoping we're going to get tonight. We're talking about the moon with Constance Victoria Briggs. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich,
BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Gritty Gear Company is a great place to go for clothing that is fun and expressive. But did you know we also do custom orders on demand? We've worked with all types of companies and organizations, from first responders to even a certain radio station. Our team is here to help you look amazing. Our clothing is of the highest quality, and you will love your logo on the finished product. We are a locally owned small business who simply wants you to look great. Find out more at grittygearcompany.com.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like many of you, I still collect physical books, and not just any books, but books about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. I go to Megas Books and Herbs, located in the Arts District of Minneapolis, but books are only part of it. Megas Books and Herbs offers crystals, jewelry, herbs, oils, and consultations on how to use this stuff. Check out their in-store classes and events too. This place has everything to expand your horizons. Located at 1848 Central Avenue, Minneapolis, or visit megasbooks.com. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We have a very fascinating conversation. We have with us author Constance Victoria Briggs. Her book, one of many that she's written, The Moon's Galactic History, a look at the moon's extraterrestrial past and its connection to Earth, which is available on Amazon, is what we're talking about tonight. I do have a question. I have a couple questions from the comments, and I forgot about this. I keep forgetting about this. Damien says, we got a second moon until November. Do you think this is a reconnaissance vessel or something other than a snowball?
I haven't given much thought to it. Wow, a reconnaissance vessel. I guess it could be. No, I honestly, I haven't given much thought to it. I just thought it was something natural that got stuck. I'm sorry.
That was kind of my thought on it. And by no means am I any sort of expert on any of that stuff. That's a good question. And something else that Damien also asked about that I was kind of wondering about is the dark side of the moon. We don't go to that. Do you think that there is that there are? I mean, I don't even think that there's even a question. There's obviously probably stuff on the dark side. There's a reason it's there. No one can get to it. That kind of keeps things hidden over there, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, whoever is up there, may not want us looking at them to see, what they're doing. I've heard that there is some possibly hidden bases back there. Who knows?
Well, and that's just it. It's like, I also think too, like, I always wonder, like, is there like any underground stuff that we're not able to see and stuff? That's what I'm always very interested in. And, I guess it's not even being interested. I'm hoping that it's there because it'd be cool.
So there seems to be two things going on there. They're using the surface, and they're using, the inside of the moon. Of course, it's always safer on a planet. And I had to learn this myself. I've heard that we are living inside out pretty much, because if you're going to be on a planet, you're going to be vulnerable to storms and meteorites hitting and all kinds of things, or, some kind of enemy that may want to come and do you in. And of course, the moon has these extreme temperatures. We don't know what kind of an extraterrestrial might be there, or how they live, or what kind of technology technology they might have. Maybe they can, go on top of the moon because they have special suits. But anyway, it does seem to be that in our solar system, it is safer to live inside. Now, the astronauts said that they saw lighted domes. They saw, what looked like there was some energy sources, inside of those domes. They made comments like that. Of course, we know that the moon is hollow because NASA scientists said it. It wasn't a hoax. It wasn't something that someone made up. When they crashed the ascent stage, which is a part of the lunar module, which came down, there's a command module that went up, and the lunar module came down from the command module and went onto the surface, and it had the different parts to make it simplistic. They went back up, they sent this thing into the moon, they crashed it, and the moon reverberated. It didn't really ring like a bell, but it reverberated. And the scientists said, we don't, think we really want to comment on this. This was at a press conference, but it shouldn't have been doing that because that would mean that it would be hollow. Now, what's interesting about it, about that is that there were 2 Russian scientists that worked for the government that took it upon themselves to take this thought further. And they looked into when the Apollo missions were completed, and they looked at the stuff that they brought back from the moon. They said, you know what, this is just really weird. this data, you're saying that the moon, when a meteorite hits, no matter how hard it hits, it's not deeper than 2.5 miles, no matter how big or small this thing, you can't penetrate the moon too far. That's weird. The elements from the dirt and the dust, what have you, is strange. It looks like this thing has a very hard hull. The astronauts tried to drill into it and they couldn't. They said it looks to them like this is a kind of a spaceship. There's that term again, spaceship. Yeah. All right. It looks like we have engines and supplies probably in this thing, and there is people in there that came across the universe in this thing. That's what these scientists were saying, and they put their reputations on the line, and they were the only ones that did it to say that something was up with the moon, and the thing looks like it's inhabited, it's not natural, it's some kind of structure. So they kind of piggybacked. I don't know that they did that on purpose, but on the idea, piggybacked on the comment that the moon is hollow. And they're explaining why it's hollow. And they're explaining why the astronauts saw lighted domes on the surface of the moon. And all the astronauts also commented that they thought there were craters that were bottomless craters. Why would there be bottomless craters? And unless, someone was going in and out. And by the way, astronomers have seen lights or what have you coming and going out of craters. Some modern day astronomers just right now, because we've got such great cameras in 2024, people are seeing things up there, and they're saying it looks like, one astronomer says it looks like a parking lot, that there are lights lined up around craters, and it looks like a parking lot of ships up there. People are not crazy. All right. And if just one of these stories is true from the 1600s up until today, if just one of those stories is true, that means that the moon is inhabited. Someone's up there. And I don't believe that it's us. You hear these stories about Nazi Germany going up, and, we might have technology, maybe. Okay. If we're there, it's not only us, because in the 1600s, the astronomers were reporting on stuff.
It's incredible. Now, if you watch Doctor Who, the series Doctor Who, the moon is an egg, but that's a whole other thing that we won't get into tonight. But
it's not a whole other thing, Greg. Do you want me to tell you why?
Sure, go ahead, please do.
All right, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've never watched Doctor Who, but let me tell you something interesting. There was this ancient race, out of Africa. And they had a mythological tale of how the moon came to be where it is today. And they said that the moon is an egg that was hollowed out, now get this, it was hollowed out and sent across the universe and placed in Earth's vicinity, which is pretty much what the Russian scientists were saying. I forgot to say that they said, the Russian scientists said that not only did they say it was inhabited, but it was supplied for a long trip across the universe to make it where it is today. And it's thought that there may be a generation of people in there. It is a generational ship that took so long to get here that generations lived and died inside of the ship. And that's what these people, I think it was the Zulu people, who were saying, saying the same thing that the Russian scientists were saying. And while I'm on the subject, I do have to throw in the structure found in Bolivia. It is an ancient it's a megalith, ancient doorway, gateway, they call it. And it is full of symbols that talk about there being a time when there was no moon in the sky and the moon came in. This is, from ancient times. The moon came in, and when it came in, it caused disasters, of course, throughout the earth. Sure. Now, I don't think that ancient people were writing graffiti and playing a hoax, all right? So that story, goes along with what the Zulu people were saying and what the astronauts were saying, and even what NASA is saying about it being hollow.
That's interesting. And one thing that came to my mind when you were talking about all that stuff and talking about like ancient aliens and stuff, with the idea too of that if we believe that there are aliens that have been trying to either watch over us or help maneuver our evolution in some way, and you're like, well, what if the moon is like a research center and a place that they can live, exist, that is stationary, that can watch over and see what we're doing. Because all these things are fascinating. Everything you're saying, it's like, and to me, it just makes it feel like that the moon is not just something that's in the sky that is going around the earth, that there's a real purpose to it,
Well, we've been taught that the moon is a dead rock in the sky with nothing going on. When you see pictures of the moon, it just looks like this vast gray desert. It's not like that. It's got hills and valleys. There's a whole section up there called the Grand Canyon of the Moon. And it's, really quite amazing to see. One of the astronauts actually did paintings of his recollection of the moon, and the paintings were in living color. Well, yeah, I say living color. They were in color. So we have been taught things that are not, I think, accurate for reasons that are because going back, they don't want us maybe, or they didn't want us to know, at least in the past for sure, because, this is the thing when NASA was talking about sending people to the moon, they had, where is this book? They had this little book here, guys. It's called the NASA Lunar Technical Report. Now this book, can you see it?
Yep.
All right. You can get this on Amazon, guys, and it's very inexpensive. At least it was. This book takes you back to the time of, it's in a chart, to the time of the 1600s, going back to when those astronomers were reporting to the British Astronomical Society. They were keeping records up to that point. So before NASA sent men to the moon, they knew they had this information. They put it in this report. This came out before they went up. So they knew, and they knew something was going on. And these were the ones that I said were, recording how long. They knew something was going on, and they sent them up anyway. But they did ask a government agency, and I can't remember the name of it now, the original name, but it was what we know now as the Brookings Institute. And they said, if we find something up there, if they see something, what do we do? And the advice was, don't tell the public. They can't handle it. And I do believe that they are sticking to that to this day. I think they need to change it, obviously. And it's my understanding, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you work for NASA, you have to still sign a non-disclosure agreement, right? Is that the right word? And you can't tell. Now, going to the ISS, for example. I mean, we've seen things go past the ISS, UFOs outside the ISS, but they're never talking about them, even though they've got them on film sometimes. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's being kept from us. And so much
You,
to talk about. I'm losing my train of thought.
no, and that's just it. It's so fascinating. There's so much there, and you said sometimes they don't want to talk about it because they don't believe that we can handle it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we can handle that? Like the information?
I think we can handle the information, but people don't agree with me. All right. But I think going a little bit deeper. Oh, we were talking about the moon being the structure of people watching as well. Yeah, I think that they're watching extraterrestrials in general, not just one group, are watching Earth to see our status, to see where we are in our behavior and maturity. And I think some of them might be on the moon watching us, and they're waiting to see if we can handle it, what we can accept. They're ahead of us in technology, so we don't know what kind of systems they have to watch us and record. There's one idea where they're not just watching Earth but other planets too from the moon, and that the moon also may be some sort of like a way station where people are coming and going. And that's why there's so many reports of UFOs. And I have one story in one of my books. I've written 2 moon books, actually. One of them that talk about someone seeing what looked like a mothership up there. Yeah, I believe that they're watching us. I believe that they're biding their time as to when humanity will be mature enough. When I say mature, I mean not a warring race, not a, the craziness that goes on Earth is not apparently something that's always going on, out there in the cosmos, is my understanding. So they're waiting for us so that if they do approach, maybe we won't shoot. I don't know. But I do want to say one thing. We were talking about the hollow moon, and I was saying that we are living inside out. So it's beginning to look like, guys, not only, and I don't want to get off topic, but not only is the moon hollow, inside, that you've all heard stories of hollow Earth. There's hollow areas in the Earth where beings may be living, but also Mars.
Yes.
And Mars is moon Phobos. Phobos is, if I'm saying that correctly, looks like it's might be hollow, and there might be someone in there too. And I was talking about there being structures on the outside, using the outside and the inside. So there are structures on the moon that look like whole buildings, according to some of the pictures. And then there's others that seems like they're partial debris or something. And they do kind of look kind of weird. We don't really know what they are. But one researcher, Mike Barra, once stated that it looked, he said it looked like there had been a war up there, and that some of those structures had been blown apart. So maybe, that's why they went inside, but obviously they're not ours. So someone is up there, but on the inside, I have to show you audience this. I'm going to have a little fun. Okay. On the inside, this is my little moon.
I'm going to make you bigger so everyone can see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is my little moon, and this is like a little moon city.
Sure.
And I have this sitting, whoops, can I straighten this out? I have it sitting next to me. I don't know how to, oh, there it goes.
No, we can see it very well. Yeah.
Okay. That's like a little moon city inside. So there, would be people living on the inside, but sometimes, they're coming out to go on the outside, and whatever they might be. I love this. Loved it. Had to share it. Whatever they may be. Huh?
That's awesome.
Whatever they may be doing in there, they could be a whole society of people in there with their own government, their own way of living. When they're seeing lights moving across the surface, they're just seeing them going about their business. Someone is up there. Someone has even given us, there's a chapter in my book called Signs, Symbols, Codes, and Clues. Signs is the other book. Symbols, Codes, and Clues, where, we've seen lights blinking up there as if someone was trying to do some kind of Morse code for us to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be more than one race by now, and it could be different beings now that originally even came in. We don't know what happened up there. So
I love it. Okay, so I have a Mars story. We got to take a break here. So when I come back, I want to share the Mars story, because you hit on something that I've heard other people talk about very sincerely. We got a lot more moon stuff to talk about. We got people in the comments asking questions. We still have a lot to do. We have one more segment. This is awesome. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Twin Cities Con returns to the Minneapolis Convention Center for their 4th year, November 8th through 10th. Twin Cities Con is a celebration of comics, toys, TV, film, art, cosplay, games, and all things nerdy. There is nothing like Twin Cities Con. It's also a family-friendly event where you can meet your favorite celebrities, browse the vendor hall and artist alley for the coolest merch, watch celebrity Q&As, and even more. Twin Cities Con is bigger and better than ever before. Come see from Star Wars the Emperor himself, Ian McDiarmid, along with Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, John DiMaggio, who is Bender from Futurama, WWE Hall of Fame wrestler Sting, and Sunday only Grant Gustin from The Flash and Glee, plus more guests to be announced. 3 days of action-packed fun is in the heart of Minneapolis at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Tickets start at $40. Kids tickets are just $8 for the entire weekend. VIP tickets also available, including a 3-day weekend pass, plus some really cool VIP perks. Buy your tickets and get more information at TwinCitiesCon.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Recently, I had a large order of custom-designed T-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call, Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
And join us tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. I'm going to have on author Angela Artuso, and we're talking about, we're going to be talking about two of her books. One right here, Gothic Hudson Valley, and we are talking also Gothic Long Island tomorrow as well. It's a great conversation. I think you're going to really like it. One of the things, because we did pre-record it today, actually, one of the things that I didn't know about is a possible origin to the Headless Horseman story that she talks about that I found really interesting, and I think you will too. So check that out tomorrow. We have with us tonight, we're having a great program with Constance Victoria Briggs. She is a author, and we're talking about her book, The Moon's Galactic History, a look at the moon's extraterrestrial past and its connection to Earth. A couple things here in the comments, kind of going a little off topic here, but Linda says that she wants a Mavericks roast beef sandwich with onion rings. It sounds so good. And let me just tell you, it is good. And, you're all missing out by not living in Minnesota. Okay. So we got that out of the way. We're talking about the moon for 45 minutes. Let's talk about a roast beef sandwich a little bit. All right. I want to quickly, before we get back to things, I want to talk about something that happened over the course of the last 20 years. There is this person that I met years ago because I'm part of like science fiction fandom in the Twin Cities, and everyone's putting on a convention and stuff. And one of the people working there was somebody I got to know. It was before I was into the paranormal. I didn't know anything about him. He just seemed nice, whatever. Jump forward 20 some years, and I'm doing a paranormal fair, and he shows up and he comes, talks to me, and he remembers me, but he's changed. He's a different person now. Something has afflicted him. He worked for the government, and he had said that he actually has been on Mars, and that the underground bases on Mars. And that's a hard one to believe, but it also was more of a metaphysical sort of state of transportation than anything else. Like he could kind of remote view himself into it. And I'm not here to say whether I believe it or not, but the idea of the underground bases, the underground, like you had talked about Phobos, and the possible underground bases there of aliens, it just makes me think like, what is the connectivity that's going on here overall? That everything is like, how much are we connected, to everything that's happening, we being the human race? And I just found that very interesting. One question for you, Constance, you write about the metaphysical, you write about life after death, everything like that. Spiritual researcher. Are you a medium?
I'm not a medium by profession. I think I have mediumship abilities, but I don't like to use them. I had something happen to me many years ago that was not that was negative.
Okay.
Someone was trying to come through, and after I had that experience, not that I was trying to practice mediumship. I can feel presences, I can get information, and I do, but I call them my guides. Yep. But there was someone that came through that was negative, and I just thought, I am never going to go there. I am never going to try to channel from the other side, that part of the other side. So no, I don't practice that.
And I ask about it because, I feel it. I feel it's there. And also the fact that, you write about it as well. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up, is I don't know if you've heard this from other mediums or stuff, but I've been hearing from mediums a lot the year 2026, 2027, when it comes to like full disclosure from knowing that, kind of a opening for us to see that aliens have been with us, aliens are around, like that full disclosure becomes, and those are the years that I keep getting told by a lot of people that 2026, 2027 is going to be that time period. Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't heard anything like that. Well, in passing, I've seen some people say, oh, it's going to be 2025, 2026. I haven't been following that, and I haven't been giving that information from my own guides. Now, when you say medium, I think that you're asking if I communicate with the other side. That's not what you mean from people that have passed on. That's when I think of mediumship. All right, but that's not what you mean.
So I can go both ways on that. I kind of see mediumship as beyond that, but
okay.
If that's how you're looking at it, that's totally fine. I can go with that too.
So I do get information from my guides. I do. So anyway, but they haven't, I don't like, it's kind of hard to explain when you're, guides, but
Yeah.
They, I haven't heard any numbers from them, but what I think is that we are very, very close. It's been really fascinating for me. I wrote 2 books called, with the word galactic in it, and no
Mhm.
sooner had I contracted that and was writing those books, and I started seeing a number of other things called galactic this and galactic that. And I really think as a world, we are getting information from the other side, from beings out there that would like for us to come into the galactic community, that are waiting for us. And they're trying to give us this information to get it out there so that humanity will be prepared when they do let us know on a kind of a mass agenda they have, for everybody to know that they're here, they're waiting for us to come in to understand who we are. So I think that's very close. I don't know if it's 26 or 2027. I would love for it to be, because I'd like to still be here to see that in the physical.
Mhm.
So maybe, but I do feel like something is going to happen soon. And for me, my mission is to kind of get the word out there that we're not alone in the universe. There's someone on the moon. There's someone visiting Earth. I've got the whole Earth Galactic History book that we need to talk about at some point. They're here. So yeah, it could happen soon.
I think too. I love the word galactic, and I remember thinking, before I got into all this, that galactic is kind of, at the time, kind of a cheesy 70s, 80s sci-fi word, like Galactica, Battlestar Galactica, stuff like that. But I've come to respect that term as mainly being a galactic being used by people who are deeply into metaphysical, who are deeply seeing stuff that a lot of other people don't. And there's somebody that I work with. Her name is Suzanne Worthley, and I don't think she's human. Quite frankly, I've told her this. I mean, she's not starseed either. She is legit, straight up. I mean, she speaks on a level that people are not everyone's going to be able to get, but it makes sense when she talks, and it's at galactic level. And I find that very interesting. And it just seems to me that you using that term so much, I think that there is a purpose for you using that term, that there is a reason, and that it goes into what you just said of why you are doing this, because you are needing to do this to let people know and help prepare them as well, I guess.
That's right. And I know people are saying, oh, we don't have a where the government is not disclosing this or not disclosing that. And we have a lot of people working on disclosure. All right. That's really, everybody has their own part in this. But honestly, I think that the extraterrestrials are kind of running the show. And I think that they are going to determine when we're ready for them to let us know that they are here. You and I understand it, but you go knock on your neighbor next door and they haven't heard this information. So I call it the ground troops that have come in from the other side, to come in here to do this work. And then that there are galactic hierarchies that are, helping from a ship, perhaps, or a planet or the moon, to help prepare, this world. And by the way, Earth is supposedly, a very special place in our solar system. It's got a lot of life, and they're waiting for us to develop. And if we don't, they have said they're not going to let us use nuclear bombs to destroy all life here. They're going to step in before then, but they'd like to give us a minute to come to terms. I think they're using our sci-fi to educate us. I think Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, I don't know if you saw that in my book, but I talked about Gene Roddenberry sitting in on channeling sessions of this woman who was channeling extraterrestrials. And they said that they were on a peaceful mission, and it was people from different worlds, and they're working together in harmony. And the idea is that Gene Roddenberry got the idea for Star Trek from those channeling sessions. Now, we don't know if they told him directly, hey, you should do this, but also some of the scripts that he was writing is thought to have come from them. It's very interesting that one of his scripts before the Apollo astronauts went up talked about because, this was in 1965.
Yep.
that show came on, and one
Yep.
of it talked about an asteroid that was camouflaged. It was an asteroid that was actually a spaceship. The spaceship was camouflaged to look like an asteroid. The crew beamed over because this thing was heading toward a Federation planet. They beamed over to prevent that. And when they hit the surface, when they beamed in, there were structures on the surface. Then they were taken inside of this thing. And there was a generation, they found people that had been there for generations that had come across the universe in this asteroid. And the asteroid was designed to look like that so that, it was strong. It could withstand radiation, which is what they said the moon has done. Was sent across. It was strong and radiation couldn't hurt it. Meteorites couldn't hurt it. This thing that Roddenberry created in this asteroid was the same way. People had lived there for generations, lived and died inside of this thing, but it was a whole world. So it's interesting how he wrote that, put that on TV, and then we're getting this information a few years later that that's what may be happening with the moon. I find that fascinating.
Absolutely, and too much. It's too much to be a coincidence. It's just and that's just it. And I like the idea that what you're saying is that sci-fi could be what's the barometer for us. What can we take? What can we learn from such things? And something like Star Trek being one that has always been about peace. As we're running out of time, Constance, what is a great way for people to keep up with what you're doing and be able to know what's happening in your life?
So I'm on Facebook. I'm all over the place. Constance Victoria Briggs. I've got several pages. There's a Moon Mysteries page. I put stuff up on there. Okay. I'm on Instagram under Galactic Briggs. I'm just getting started on that pretty much. You can get me there. You can ask me questions through my website, ConstanceVictoriaBriggs.com.
And don't forget, folks, to go to Amazon and get the Moon's Galactic History, a look at the Moon's extraterrestrial past and its connection to Earth. Constance, thank you so very much for joining me tonight. What a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. We'll be back tomorrow with Angela Tuzzo. Everyone, have a fantastic night.